to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the fabulous Gold Coast here in Australia, where it's very wintry and quite cold. So wherever you are on this amazing planet of ours, I hope you've had an interesting week, and I hope you've been kind to yourself, because it's sort of getting a little bit like that, isn't it? You know, that we're all getting a little bit fatigued with everything that's going on in the world, and it's like, just take me back to a simpler time and a simpler place. Well, unfortunately, probably that's not going to happen in the short term, but we can certainly for the next half an hour take you onto a completely different journey. So the Simply Tarot card of this week is an interesting card. It's the Emperor. And it's actually one of my favourite cards, because when I see this come out in a reading, I know that things are going to stabilise. It's like we've hit rock bottom. We're now going to find some sort of stability or stabilising influence coming into our lives. So isn't this a lovely card to come out at the moment, the midst of everything that's going on around the planet and all the BS that's spewing out of the mouths of our politicians worldwide at the moment? It's nice to think that we can probably, as an individual, have a little bit of a stabilising influence or a little bit of stability coming into our lives, where we can just breathe and take stock and sort of get ready for the next round of the next few months as we head into the second half of 2020 and wondering what 2021 is going to bring. I think it's time where we can just sort of breathe easier a little bit. So we have a lot to cover this morning on today's show, astrologically, because as we've been working through this COVID-19 thing, each week I've been doing a fairly extensive astrology look, and this week will be no different. And I want to start off this week with Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer. Now, it's not a planet that a lot of astrologers give a lot of airtime to, probably because over the years there hasn't been a huge amount of documented research. It's sort of a little bit like, you know, the latecomer to the party, and everybody's scrambling to try and work out what Chiron actually means in a chart and how does it work. In my extensive years of being in astrology, I must admit I probably only looked at Chiron in the last 15, 20 years, about half of my career. And it's sort of like every time I see Chiron in the chart, I think, oh, why do I feel like I want to burst into tears? What is this person telling me on a soul level that maybe that they're not sorting out or working with? So if we look at this as a collective thing at the moment around the planet, Chiron is asking each and every one of us to look at our own selves. What are we responsible for? What can we change? What can we do better? Now, I know in the midst of this pandemic, everybody's sort of saying, well, you know, we've got to look after, we've got to be the we, we've got to be I look after you and you look after me. And I'm not saying that's wrong, not for 1 second. But what I feel Chiron is asking here is let's take it back to self first, because Chiron's sitting in Aries, which is me, myself and I. He's also conjunct or holding hands Mars, the planet of action. So this is the time for us to take action on ourselves. Is there something that we can do as an individual that will change, improve, or make our lives better? And by doing that, then we take it into the we or the you, where we're then starting to make your life, your world a little bit better by me taking responsibility for myself. And that then flips over to the we or the collective. So it's interesting, maybe a lot of you with this full moon that we've had over the last few days have found it very taxing on yourselves, where there's been a lot of old emotions that have come up. Some people have sort of inboxed me and said, my goodness, my arthritis has been bad. I've been in aches and pains and what's going on. They're all effects of the full moon. As the full moon's been in Capricorn, along with the plethora of planets we're going to talk about in a minute. So it's sort of like been a little bit like a game of pinball, you know, where you go ding, 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 you know, you've hit the markers and the lights and the whistles and the bells go off. Well, it's been a little bit like that as the full moon has transited through Capricorn. It's like it's been going ding, 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 and it's been unearthing an awful lot of very deep-seated emotions, things that we've probably all carried around with us since our birth. And it's like they've had to come to the surface. And I'm a firm believer, yes, you can let go on the emotional, you can do all the clearings and the releasings that you like, but it's still got to be released on the physical, whether that's in a toeache, a fever, a cough, a cold, whatever. It's still got to come out on that physical. So my heart goes out to anybody that's been experiencing a rough time over the last 3 or 4 days, where your ailments have got exponentially worse. And some people are saying to me, I've barely been able to walk, my bones and have been so sore. And, I thought I had my arthritis or whatever it was under control. Well, there's your answer. Things will get better. It's not saying don't take your medication. It's saying just be aware of it. Understand that you're releasing an awful lot on a physical, and this is the quickest way for the body, the mind, and the soul to release this. So with Chiron being in Aries and conjunct Mars, the planet of action, it's asking each and every one of us to take some sort of action in our lives. Let's all look at this as an individual fight against COVID. What can I do in my own personal space to help beat this problem? And, for a lot of people, it's just something as simple as paying attention to the rules that are going on locally. I know that there's many, many hotspots around the world, and I know there's many areas that haven't got it under control, and we've had a resurgence here in one of our states in Australia in the last week, and they've gone back into massive lockdown. So these things aren't necessarily unexpected. But what it's asking us to do is take notice of what the authorities are telling us. If they are telling you or suggesting to you to wear a mask when you go out, it's simple. Do it. It's not just protecting you, you're protecting everybody else around you as well. If they're asking you to social distance, then do that. Let's apply some common sense here. Aries is about me first and me taking responsibility for me. And by doing that, we then look after the we. So I think we all need to do that. We all need to be more vigilant and start to really listen to what we're being told. Now, I want to move on to every week we seem to be talking about the same three planets. Well, the three planets now are all very tightly holding hands in Capricorn. Saturn has slipped back in his retrograde process from Aquarius back into Capricorn. So we now have Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto. So we've got Jupiter and Pluto literally nearly sitting on each other's laps. They're so close. And Saturn is just sort of sitting, cozying up to them on the couch. So we've got Jupiter's the planet of expansion and opportunity. It's sort of more of a global sort of planet. Now, he's asking us to completely transform the way we look at things, how we deal with things. Now, it's interesting when you've got the planet Saturn sitting there sort of saying, well, okay, I'm the father figure. I'm coming in and waving the big stick. I'm telling you what to do. They're all sitting in Capricorn. So Capricorn rules things like big business, government, anything officials, doctors, dentists, lawyers, those sort of things in our lives. And it's very, very interesting that they're all tightening up. Now, how I'm seeing that in the bigger picture is it's like all the governments around the world have all got together, had a teleconference and said, this is what the BS we're going to spin everybody this week, that, we've got to get the money flowing again. It's good for the world economy. And if we all look after our own economies and sort of get people G'd up and out the door and, maybe, just maybe they'll forget for 5 seconds about that we're in the middle of a worldwide health crisis and a pandemic. But if we get that money flowing, everything will be right with the world. Well, look, that's wonderful on one hand to be positive and try and, get everybody sort of feeling as if they've got something positive to look forward to. But at the same time, we need a dose of reality. We need to understand that we can't open up too quickly. We are still in a very much a crisis situation around the world. And the leaders, I think, have to start leading. And I'm not singling out any one person. I watch a lot of world events and they all seem to be sort of singing from the same hymn sheet. It's all varying degrees of BS at the moment. So they all need to wake up and get their act together, in my opinion. Now, it's interesting because we've had the planet of communication, Mercury, has been in Cancer for the last few weeks and has been also going retrograde or backwards. When a planet goes retrograde or backwards, in a sense, it's intensifying in itself. It's also asking us to take a long, hard look at the lessons or the messages or the information that they've been trying to teach us. So with the planet of communication going backwards until July 12, which will be next weekend, please allow another couple of days after that before Mercury sort of gets momentum up and starts to go forward. We still need to be very careful at the way we communicate. We have to make sure we have our listening ears on, that we are really, really listening to what's being said, whether it's on a personal level, on a political level, on our job front, with the people that we care about, the people that we do business with on a day-to-day basis. We need to make sure that we are really listening to what's being said, not just half listening and say, oh, yeah, I've got that, when we haven't really been paying attention. Again, if you don't need to sign a contract, please don't. Read the fine print, read it out aloud, read it a dozen different times and make sure that you fully understand something before you commit to something. And it's sort of, we've had the sun also in Cancer as well. So sort of the sun's been hovering around Mercury, sort of trying to give us this, in a sense, a false sense of security, saying everything's going to be okay, just stay home, just, comfort yourself a little bit, find the things that make you feel happy and secure. And that's all well and fine. But when you look at those two planets are sitting exactly the opposite, it's like on the opposite ends of the seesaw to the planets that I spoke about in Capricorn, which is Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. It's like they're in a tug of war. And that's what's been making it very difficult. On one hand, we're trying to sort of stimulate economies, bring some sort of stability back to the world, get people G'd up and, enthusiastic and sort of say everything's going to be okay. Then at the other end of the tug of war, we've got, people spinning all this BS and, we're not really listening properly and we're sort of wanting to find this safe haven, this place where we feel secure. And in the midst of all that, we're sort of looking at, well, I'm fighting with myself. What can I do about this? I'm only one person. I can't beat a pandemic on my own. So it's like all of our energies are being pulled in so many different directions. All I can say to you is stop, take a breath, do what feels right to you. But please, please make sure that you protect yourself, do the very, very best that you can do for yourself, and then that will transfer to the we as a collective thing. So having said that, we're going to move on to the candle of the week. And this week I've chosen one of my favourite candles. It's called Destiny. And destiny to me is something that happens in our lives. We don't necessarily create our own destiny. After many, many years in astrology, I can assure you our lives are destined for us. Yes, we still have free will. We can still get to a corner and make a decision to turn left or right. But overall, I think we usually follow what is our destined path. And sometimes that pathway is not meant to be easy. That's where our character building comes from. That's where we learn so much about ourselves and our environment and the things that become important to us. So the candle of destiny to me is one of those candles that you can make it anything that you want to be. And I've been burning a destiny candle for the last week because I sort of feel that the planet needs to find, its own destiny. We all need to sort of get on that boat of positivity and sort of say, okay, we are all in this together. I'll take care of me, and in turn that will take care of you. And if we all do that, then we can get the right outcome. We can have destiny moving in the right direction. So destiny is, another word for karma or fate, but karma is a very different thing because that's lessons that we bring in from our previous lives. Yes, they are important, and yes, they do influence this current life, but I like to also feel that destiny has a hand in creating the life that we need, creating the life that we deserve, and the life that is meant for us so that we can grow on a soul level and on a human level. So that's the candle of the week this week is destiny. So in our gift box, yes, I have the destiny candle, and of course I have my angel in the sky for representing all those beautiful souls that we've lost, whether it be through COVID or other forms of illness or accidents has taken our loved ones and the people that are precious to us away. We'll continue to burn my angel in the sky on set until the world improves. And we've also got the healing candle there. I don't think that we can all collectively do too much in the way of sending out healing. I think we all need to try and heal the planet. And as I said, let's heal ourselves. Let's look after ourselves in the I, and then we can transfer that to the we. So I hope that sort of helped you and understand a little bit more about where we're going in this new crazy, amazing sort of world of COVID-19. And look, I wish I had a magical answer and say that they were going to get a cure tonight or, there is going to be more breakthroughs. I firmly believe that. I don't believe that we've come anywhere near to the end of the journey of COVID-19. I think it has many layers. And one of those is that I think we all need to go back and start looking after the I, and then collectively that'll look after the we. And maybe as individual nations and countries around the world, we need to get back to looking after ourselves and looking after our own economies, our own environment and our own people, and including our health systems. And then that will be the way that the planet will start to heal and we'll start to see some directions. It's also an interesting time as we see everybody sort of getting a little bit annoyed or angry with China and sort of, the things that are going on in Hong Kong. I'm not saying for 1 second I agree with any of that. I don't. But I think everybody's got to take a little bit of a breath here and try and diffuse the situation as much as we can. The last thing we need is the world to go to war. And I'm not predicting that, and I hope that I'm completely wrong, that, you know, the news stories that we're seeing where China's getting, you know, a bit strong-arm tactic, hopefully somebody can diffuse that and we can start to see some peace and healing around the world. We're going to take our very first caller, which is Philomena in Dundalk County, Louth in Ireland. Are you there? Philomena, are you there, Philomena?
I am, yes.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, sweetie? And I apologise for pronouncing your name wrong.
You're okay, you're grand. Ask your question, is it?
Yes, please, sweetie.
Hello. Can you see any more grandchildren for me soon?
Okay, grandchildren is one of those tricky sort of areas because a lot of countries around the world is one of the things that we're technically not allowed to talk about by, you know, governing laws is children, court cases and health. But I do feel that there's going to be some joyful news coming. So I'm going to assume that's going to be more grandchildren. Do you already have 3?
Yes.
I felt there was another 2 to come.
Oh, right. Any in the near future, do you know?
I felt the news was happy and I felt it was soon. I don't know that it's going to be next week, but I certainly feel there'll be news of 1 in the next 12 months. Is there no twins in the family? Could there be sort of, you know, twins born or 2 separate babies being born very close in age?
Oh. You're asking me, is the 2 born close to age?
Well, I'm just not sure whether you got 2 children that could be looking to have another baby and they both, you know, sort of produce another child at the same time, or whether there's going to be twins. But the children seem to be very close together, the two that I'm seeing. And it wasn't clear to me whether they were twins or whether they were, you know, to 2 different lots of parents. But it's certainly a very joyful occasion. The other thing that they were sharing with me, Philomena, was the fact that, is it you that's moving house or is it someone that's very close to you in the family that's been questioning it? Will I, won't I, should I, shan't I? They're going to make a decision by August about one way or the other, whether they're going or they're staying put. Is it you or is it someone else that's very close to you? You're not planning on moving house? I think we've lost Philomena there. Anyway, I'll go on with Philomena's reading. I mean, there's certainly 2 more grandchildren to come. But I was also sort of feeling that there was a move coming up. I sort of felt it was more to do with Philomena, but I also felt that there was someone fairly close to her in the family, like a child or a parent, that was also questioning whether or not it was the right time to move. Both of them seem to be making a decision by about August, and it seems to be the right decision after a lot of deliberating and delaying and sort of trying to sort out what's right and what's you know, maybe feels right, or am I just looking at other things. It's just sort of an area of their lives that before the pandemic I think that they were considering, and then as for many of us, a lot of things have got thrown out of kilter with this pandemic. All of a sudden our lives were tipped upside down and we had to start rethinking what was important and the projects that were on the table that we were going to be focusing on. But I know Philomena has been having some very vivid dreams, and I want to sort of suggest to her to start writing those down, because there's some actual messages in those dreams that are coming to her about where the family is heading for the future. And I don't feel uncomfortable with that. I actually feel quite excited about the changes that are starting to unfold in her life, which is a very, very, very good thing. Sometimes I think we sort of dismiss our dreams a little bit too much as it's just wishful thinking, or wouldn't that be nice, but no, it's not really going to happen to me. And we need to sort of give it a little bit more focus and a little bit more attention that, yes, it is very possible. Yes, it can happen. And yes, it's meant to be for me. So it's a really interesting sort of time, and particularly as we come out of these retrogrades. And while we've got a second, I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. The Pluto retrograde will go through till early October. Jupiter retrograde will go through to the end of September, and the same with Saturn. So it's interesting as we come to that last week in September and the first week in October, we see those three major planets sort of starting to sort of go direct again. We've got Mercury going direct again next week, but we don't get Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, and the way that we come out of these fogs or get our inspiration. He's not coming out of retrograde until the end of November. Now, isn't that interesting? Because I think we're still going to be walking around in a little bit of a fog till then. And I know that that's well and truly past the time of the USA election. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds around the world. We're all going to be watching that with, let's get the popcorn and wait for the show to begin. So we've got Leanne in Los Angeles, California. Are you there, Leanne?
Hi.
Hi, Leanne. Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
Sure. I have many questions, but I'll start with a couple. Okay. I still feel stuck and making very slow progress. I understand that I am exactly where I need to be, but is there any way I can? Is it true, or am I blocked, or am I where I need to be? Can I work on something to release certain blocks?
Okay, I think that's a very valid question, Leanne. Okay, it's a very, very valid question. The thing is, what they're showing me is you are precisely where you're meant to be at the moment. I don't actually feel that you're blocked or you're putting up your own roadblocks in any way. If the only thing that I can say to you that maybe you might be slightly blocking things is questioning it all the time. Instead of just going with the flow and saying, okay, look, I surrender, I'm here, this is where I'm meant to be, I'll just wait for the next sign, the next opening to sort of show me what's next. It's a time of just being, and it's got nothing to do with COVID-19. Even if that wasn't happening, you would still be in this place. You would still be in this energy. So I don't want you to look at that as being something that's out of your control. This would be happening anyway. It's a time of sort of sitting still and just letting things be. It's like, you know, like I've put the seeds in the ground, I've watered it, I've fertilized it, I've just got to wait for them now to shoot and grow. You know, by going out and looking at them is not going to make them grow any faster. I just have to be patient. And patience not one of those words that many of us like, because we sort of think it's almost like a punishment. It's not. Sometimes when you've been such a good girl and you've done your lessons ahead of time, we have to wait for destiny to catch up, if that makes any sense. You've actually been so in tune with everything and listened very intently to what your steps were that you needed to take. So you're actually ahead of your own personal timetable. I think by about mid-August, you're going to start to feel as if the winds of change are starting to come again. Are you completely settled there in Los Angeles, or would you contemplate a move? No?
Where I am.
You're happy where you are?
Yes. I mean, I would like to move to a bigger place. Other than that, right. I'd like to stay in LA area.
Okay. Because I'm seeing a move coming up, but I wasn't seeing it till around November, December. But I felt that there were still question marks around that. And is that because, you know, do I have enough money? Is it the right time? What sort of place would I get? Is it those? Are they the question marks that are coming up around you?
I guess I feel there's going to be a big change. I don't know exactly what, but moving, I mean, I would love to move to a bigger place, but I don't know if I'll be ready financially. I don't, like, I'll go with the flow. I'm sure whatever will be, will be.
Yeah, it's not until towards the end of the year, Leanne. It's sort of like at the moment, it's like, let's just see what comes out. You know, like there's going to be lots of things that are going to come in and out of your mind. And I want you to just sort of let them come and go. It's like going to the beach and watching the waves coming in. The waves come in, the waves go out. Well, that's how I want you to look at your life at the moment. Thoughts come in, thoughts go out. And then eventually out of all of that, we will find the answers. There will be something that will say, you know, you'll say to yourself, oh, that's it. That's what I've been waiting for. You know, there's my marker. There's my cue. This is where I'm meant to be sort of going. But a move was one of those things that I felt was going to happen between, you know, more towards the end of this year. I was also picking up some question marks around the job. So it's not so much the changing of the job. Is there something else that you're looking to do to add on to the job? Are you looking to do some extra study or some training or something like that to sort of enhance your job description?
Yes, that's what I'm doing full time. I'm actually taking classes to become a hypnotherapist. So that's that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm doing my best at this moment. Whatever I can, I'm doing. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting subject for you to be learning, hypnotherapy, and understanding how triggers and things like that of the mind. So that fits in with what I was seeing, with things coming, things going, and it was sort of like you don't have to own everything or hold on to everything. You can let it come in and let it go out again like the tide. So I've never studied hypnotherapy, but it's one of those areas of work that I find incredibly fascinating, that how, you know, triggers even from way back can influence this part of our lives. So it's good that you're actually, you know, just being and going with the energy of what you're learning and applying it to yourself too. So that's a good thing. Look, I think 2021 is going to be more of a year of opportunity for you, where this year you're a bit like the, you know, the log in the river. You just got to let it take you wherever it's meant to be, you know, and not try and force anything. So I know that you're going to be heading into much better days. So just be patient, keep up with your studies, and I think just keep doing what you're doing, Leanne, because you're certainly on the right path. So that's where we're going to leave Leanne now. We've come very close to the end of the show, so I hope that the show's been informative and helped you understand some of the things that are going on in your personal universe, and why sometimes that we have so many thoughts and different waves of energy that are sort of washing us at the moment, overflowing, and it's times there where we don't quite understand what this is all about. And this is where staying tuned on A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV, I'm sure you'll get answers out of each and every show, as each psychic healer astrologer brings to the table something very different, and there's a message from each show for every single person. You just have to listen and take on board what feels right to you and release what doesn't fit you today. So until next week, have an absolutely fantastic week, and I hope that everything in your life starts to become more positive. And don't forget, look after me first, and then we can look after the we. Bye for now.